Halloween is a very special time for me. I have always loved horror movies, but around this time of year, they take on a new meaning. So join me now as we go through my favorite 10 horror comedy movies of all time, right here on Dead on Dave Productions. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy, Dead on Dave. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dave, you're going for a creepy candle friggin' thing. Oh, how played out. Well, reality is I just didn't pay my electric bill, but only for my lights. My TV still works and stuff because I bought an extra generator and I put the gas, because I would never do anything as hokey as doing candles. A candlelit episode? No, not me. Actually, that's exactly what I would do, because it's what I've done. Welcome to this very special edition of Dead on Dave Productions, man. I love Halloween. I love movies. I love horror movies. I think that there's more growth in horror movies, and there's more room in horror movies to tell a wider magnitude, a wider range of story than in any other genre in film or in literature, for that matter. Horror can be anything. Horror could be action-packed. Horror could be gory. Horror could be cute. There can be romance in horror and horror stuff, but horror can always be funny as well. And I've always tended to really gravitate towards the horror comedy. So what I wanted to do for this episode, the day before Halloween, is kind of give you guys 10 movies that I watch religiously almost every single Halloween season. Some new, some old, some... The one thing they all have in common is they're all deliberately trying to be funny. I'm not a fan of the horror movies like Thanksgiving and movies like that are not trying to be funny. They're trying to be a horror movie, but come off comical because of how horrible they are. No, these are 10 movies that deliberately set out to be funny, and I really do feel that they all, some more than others, do capture an element of actual scares and actual comedy, with the exception of this first movie right here. This is here for you guys, all right? Plain and simple. This is Santa's Sleigh. That's the first movie we're going to talk about, Santa's Sleigh. Now, if you look really carefully, you'll see a very familiar character playing Santa Claus. And if you just read right there, you'll see it says Bill Goldberg. It's because he is friggin' Santa Claus here. Santa's Sleigh is an absolutely abysmal. It's an abortion of a movie. It's horrible. It's like irredeemable. However, it knows it and it plays it up. There is genuine funny ass moments in this movie because there's a lot of, okay, you know, celebrities that aren't huge names, but you know them. You see them and you know who they are because they've been in a million things, but they're not A-listers by any stretch. They're packed into this movie, and they all die in horrifically hilarious ways. This is the one movie on the list that you got to watch just because if you're here, you're probably a wrestling fan. So you got to watch just for that reason. And if you can get to the entire thing, kudos to you because you are a damn trooper. Basically, this movie is about the son of the devil who just liked to murder everybody. But 1,000 years ago, he lost a bet with an angel. I am not making this up. He lost the bet with an angel, and for 1,000 years, he had to deliver gifts to the world, to the children, and be nice and all this stuff. Well, those 1,000 years are over, and now he is slaughtering everybody. It's ridiculous. It's campy, but it knows it, and for some reason, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. Bill Goldberg kills me in this movie. Santa Slay, you got to check it out. Got to check it out. Movie number 2, and remember, this is in no particular order whatsoever. It's Cabin in the Woods, man. I remember going in to see this movie and not knowing what to expect. I wasn't sure if it was just going to be a full-on horror movie. I knew Joss Whedon did it, and that made me real excited and all of that. But I didn't know what to expect from it. I really was just expecting a flat-out horror movie, making fun of the cabin in the woods horror movie genre. And of course, those of you who've seen it by now know it's so much more than that. This movie it's so brilliantly done. It's very thought out well. It's funny in every possible way that you could want it to be. There's the real low class jokes, and there's the higher thinking jokes. All the monsters that are in the movie make it just great. The puns that they use, the irony that they use, even the slappy in the face, not so subtle irony. Everything works in the movie. It really is it's brilliant. It's a brilliant horror movie because it's every cliche that you could possibly think of, but done in a manner that is not insulting or cliched. It really is a great movie. I love it. I do love this flick. I make no reservations about it either. I love this movie. So many icons of horror. It really is just awesome. Cabin in the Woods is a must-watch, and I'm sure most of you have seen it. Now, there's probably a couple movies on this list that you haven't seen, but I'm assuming Cabin in the Woods is probably not one of them. I'm sure you have all seen it, and if you haven't, it's Halloween, man. This is the perfect time to go watch it. Cabin in the Woods, go check it out. It's great. Great movie. I am really hoping they do a sequel, but with that, spoiler, kind of, the ending, it's going to make it very hard to do that. But watch the movie and you'll understand exactly what I mean. Go check that out. It's awesome. The third movie I want to talk about is kind of one of those obvious. If you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? It's been out for a long time now. Shaun of the Dead, man. Shaun of the Dead takes zombie movies and just absolutely flips it on its ear. While it gives you the standard zombie movie that you absolutely want to see in almost every zombie movie, it hits you in the face with these jokes that are set up at the beginning of the film and then just deliciously played out throughout the entirety of the movie. It's just so well done, so funny, and then towards the end of the movie, it flips everything on its ear, and it's actually genuinely scary. The things that happen to some of the characters at the end of this movie, it really is terrifying. Great effects and practical effects in there that are just fantastic. It never takes itself too seriously, but it still finds ways to deliver these really good moments that you kind of come to expect out of Simon Pegg movies. It's kind of what he does and what he's able to elicit. Him and his partner there, the fat guy. I always forget his name, but it's such a good movie. And everything they did around that time is they did another one. Was it Hot Fuzz? I think it was called Hot Fuzz. That's another one where like 75% of the movie is one way, and then the last 20 minutes is just ass kickery. This movie builds up. It's just sheer comedy, and then blow your face off with gore and horror, and it's just so well done. Even if you have watched every zombie movie in the world and you know what to expect from every single zombie movie, and zombie movies don't even do it for you anymore, go watch this, because it will bring you back to a place of zombie love that you didn't know even existed anymore. It really is a fantastic film. I love Shaun of the Dead, so go check that out as well. I think that's movie number 3. The fourth movie we're going to talk about is another zombie movie, and this is Zombieland, and I feel it's not only one of my favorite horror movies, horror comedy movies, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time, because unlike Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland is set in the apocalyptic zombie world, where Shaun of the Dead was kind of the beginning of it, and they're actually if you watch the entire movie, there's hope in the movie. Zombieland, there's no hope. The survivors are few and far between, and you feel that by the scope of the movie, how much distance they travel within the movie. It really does feel like it's an apocalyptic wasteland of just death and terror. And there's these 4 characters that survive in completely different manners. I mean, they all survive differently. They all have reasons why they've survived up to this point, and they couldn't be further apart in how they did it. But they come together in this really cool way, and hilarity is just all over it. There's the romantic element. There's the angst between, just the teenage angst. Woody Harrelson is brilliant because he's always friggin' brilliant. Woody Harrelson doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. And it's got one of the greatest cameos in the history of movies, bar none. It's simply one of the greatest cameos you'll ever see, ever. It really is that good. Zombieland is fantastic. You gotta watch it. And if you're gonna watch back-to-back movies, watch Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland back-to-back, and you'll see 2 different types of zombie comedy movies. They're both zombie comedy movies, but they're done differently, and you'll see the different styles of direction, writing, acting, execution, even effects are done differently in these brilliant ways, and you'll be able to really tell the difference between, what is what. They're both brilliant, they're both fantastic, but you'll see the differences and see why that they are their own separate entities, even though they're both zombie comedy movies. So Zombieland, gotta check that out. It's fantastic. The next one for me is probably going to get a lot of groans and moans and stuff, and it's Idle Hands, man. I love this movie. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I laugh every time I watch it. It's ridiculous, but in the best possible way. Seth Green is fantastic. That douche, was it Devin Sawa, whatever his name is, he's actually fairly tolerable in this movie. It's a good flick. I could sell you on why it's funny and the fact that it's about a guy whose hand goes evil and starts killing people and all that good stuff. I could probably make that sale. But all I really got to tell you is this. That's all I really got to show you is this. Yes, that is a very young Jessica Alba, just completely smoking hot. And if that's not enough, how about this? Oh, God. Jessica Alba. Oh, my God. So fine. So fine. And she is so sexy in this movie at so many different points. It really is. It's worth watching it just for these scenes. Jessica Alba. So fine. So very fine. Love this woman. Now that I've perved out nice and good, look, Idle Hands is just a good movie. Good is a stretch, but it's funny, and it's not overly clever or anything like that. It's a slasher flick in a lot of ways, but it's done well and different in the whole devil hand, everything. It's funny, it's humorous, and it's definitely one that if you haven't seen, and especially if you're a kid of the 90s like me, you gotta go check it out. Idle Hands is definitely worth the view. It'll get you. It's good. There's nothing terrifying in it, but it's a good movie, and it'll definitely make you laugh. So I highly recommend Idle Hands. Now we come to one of the elite of the horror comedy genre, man. Army of Darkness. And for that, go ahead and include Evil Dead 2 in there. Evil Dead 1 is just a sheer horror movie, but Evil Dead 2 is got laugh out loud funny moments, and Army of Darkness expands upon that and takes it even a step further. If you have not seen Army of Darkness, well, first slap yourself, because it makes absolutely no sense how you could live on the planet for any period of time and not have seen this movie. Bruce Campbell, the ultimate B-movie extraordinary actor guy, perfect for everything when it comes to these type of films. I'm so glad his career is in a resurgence right now. And in fact, Ash versus the Evil Dead is about to come out on television, believe it or not. I believe Netflix or one of those things. It's coming to the internet, and it looks fantastic. I cannot wait to watch that. Army of Darkness, though, there are so many quotable lines in this movie. There are so many moments that pause, rewind, and watch again. I remember I wore out my VHS copy of this movie. I had the Necronomicon copy of this, where the VHS was actually encased in a Necronomicon. That was so cool. And if you don't know what the Necronomicon is, obviously, go watch this goddamn movie. Don't make me bust out my boomstick, you primitive screwheads. All right? Hail to the king, baby. Hail to the king. Bruce Campbell is my man, and I love this movie. Army of Darkness. Gotta see it. Funny. And you know what? If you're the right age, it's possible you might even get a little bit of a jump scare every now and then in the movie, too. It's cool. I know that my daughter, a couple times during the movie, there's some really graphic blood scenes and things like that will get smaller kids. It's a good flick, and this is one of those that I don't have to defend at all. It's Army of Darkness, for Christ's sake. Come on. So, gotta watch that. In case you haven't figured it out by now, I am a Bruce Campbell guy. Okay, plain and simple, I love Bruce Campbell. I think he's great. I think he's hilarious. I think he's far more talented than you could even begin to quantify. I would love to include I Am Ash in this as well. I think it's definitely up there. But I had to make room for 2 Bruce Campbell flicks, and there's no way I wasn't going to sit here and tell you about Bubba Hotep. But I will make reference to I Am Bruce. Great movie. It's him playing an amped up version of himself, and it's really good. You got to go watch I Am Bruce. It's hysterical. But Bubba Hotep might be my favorite Bruce Campbell movie. Yes, I think I like it more than Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, and all of that. I love Bubba Hotep. And come on, it's Elvis fighting a goddamn mummy. I shouldn't have to even sell this any more than that. The context, or the summary of the movie, the concept is very context. The concept is real simple. Elvis never died. Elvis simply gave his name and everything, his life, to an Elvis impersonator, went on and lived his own life, and wound up in a retirement home. And in this retirement home, through a whole bunch of series of unfortunate events, a mummy gets raised, and only Elvis can beat this undead Egyptian fuck. And it's great. Bubba Hotep is so good. It's hard to describe in words. And look, it's one of these movies, either you're going to get it or you're not going to get it. It's a very specific type of humor. I don't know how to explain it any more than that. It's definitely worth a shot for anybody who likes cinema. If you love B movies, then there's no question you're going to love it. And just so you know that I am not just a Bruce Campbell mark, man with the screaming brain sucked ass. Okay, there you go. But Bubba Hotep is one of my favorite films. It's so funny. You gotta see it. Elvis getting syphilis treatment. There you go. You gotta talking about his dick burning. It's so good. It's so good. Go check out Bubba Hotep. Trust me, you will not regret that one. It's so good. These last 3 that I have, starting with Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer, are more current, but didn't get a lot of play. They're a little bit more under the radar movies, and I'm not even sure if you guys may have seen any of these last 3. But probably of the 3, this had the most buzz about it. This was Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer. It had Robert Englund, who turns into this wonderful monster that you see right here. It's kind of a throwback to old monster movies in a lot of ways. The classic, like, monster that makes other monsters type film. It's really, really good. There's a pod people element, an invasion of the body snatchers type thing. But at the heart of it, there's this guy, Jack Brooks, who's just a dude. He's just a contractor. He's just a guy trying to go to school, has a cunt of a girlfriend, and he's just filled with rage issues. And when he was a kid, he witnessed his parents get murdered by a monster. And nobody believed him, and he's just a kid who's filled with absolute rage and anger and resentment. And so he takes big, heavy objects, and he beats the shit out of monsters, and it's fantastic. It's very well done. He finds his calling in the most weird possible fashion. Robert Englund, come on, Freddy Krueger's in this goddamn movie. Not Freddy Krueger, but Robert Englund, the actor. It's great. Definitely worth your time. If you haven't seen it, you got to see Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer. It's so good. Just funny as hell. He's great, man. He's just a raging redneck type guy. Got to go check it out. That's up there. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. All right. There's a good chance that you guys missed this one. There's a very good chance that you guys haven't seen it, and I'm going to forgive you for it. It seemed to get passed over by a lot of people. I always forget this guy's name, but the tubby guy right on top there with the chainsaw, he was in a lot of really cool shows and movies there. He had a small stretch. He had a great television show where he was a side character called Reaper, which was a great show. Should have never have gotten canceled. It did 2 incredible seasons. And if you haven't seen it, you got to go watch that show. Go binge watch it on Halloween because it's great. But this guy is so funny. When he's just being him. He had a great scene in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. He's the Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Oh, Pittsburgh. He walks into the coffee shop during the porno being shot. He's like, hug it, chug it, football. All night. And very funny. That's him, and he's really good in this. This is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It's just 2 rednecks out in the backwoods that get kind of caught in this really messed up situation with these teenage kids that are coming in, these city folk who come in and basically judge these 2 guys as being yokels and backwoods whatevers. And they basically think that they're murdering people when it's not. It's not them at all. Most of the deaths happen through just ridiculous occurrences. And it's just really good. It's something worth watching. Very funny. Very fresh. It's a little bit different than a lot of movies that, especially on this list, even more so. It's different than anything else that you're going to watch. If you watch all 10 of these movies, which God help your soul if you do, but of all 10, this is probably the most different as far as not the everyday type stuff. It's really a cool flick and just a lot of fun, a lot of one-liners. It's not for everybody, though. I do have to put that out there because it is like a cabin in the woods type feel, but taken to with Final Destination minus death. It's like these weird occurrences of how some of these people die. It's worth watching. You got to check it out. It's a good flick. And finally, we're going to end with a movie so weird, so bizarre, so strange that it just has taken a big place in my heart. It's called John Dies at the End, and it's one of the most recent movies on this list. I think it came out in like 2013 or something. John Dies at the End. It's so hard to explain this movie. It really is, because it's like 6 different movies in one. You really don't know what's going on until about midway, 3/4 through, and then they go and throw you another curveball. There's some really good actors in this movie, Paul Giamatti being one of them. There's a lot of good stuff going on here that's just mixed with heavy doses of what the fuck. And that is this movie, unlike anything else on this list. You are going to say what the fuck more during this film than anything else that you watch this Halloween. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. There's no question. If you like this movie has got comedy, it's got horror, it's got action, it's got sci-fi, it's got a little bit of everything, and it's just balanced the right way. I love it. I think it's hilarious. There is some genuinely scary parts in the movie as well. Tense more than scary, I'd say, but definitely something worth checking out. A couple of honorable mentions I want to throw in there, of course. If you haven't seen it, At World's End is really good. This Is the End is also very good. Movies like that. I love those flicks, but these are the ones that if you haven't seen, you got to see. These are my 10 that I just love and I watch every single Halloween. If I'm just looking for the horror comedy. Now, before anybody gets all up in arms, like, oh, what about the classic horror stuff? Yes, I'm a Halloween guy. I watch Hocus Pocus with my kid every year as well. The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, all that stuff. I watch those movies. Nightmare on Elm Street, I binge watch Nightmare on Elm Street. I binge watch friggin' the Friday the 13th films, of course. I do all of that. Do that the entire month of October, really. But probably something I watch more than anything else is the Treehouse of Horror episodes of The Simpsons. I binge watch them and watch them constantly. And then any of the other comedy, cartoon, horror, not horror, but Halloween episodes, like Bob's Burgers Halloween's episodes have become very good. This year being their best one, I think, yet. Has been really good. So all of those things definitely worth watching. But I want to know now from you guys, what are your favorite Halloween movies? Maybe not just Halloween comedy movies or horror comedy, but Halloween movies. What do you guys watch during Halloween that really does its tradition, whatever it is? I want to hear from you. So hit me up in the comment section below or on Twitter at DeadOnDaveV. I hope you guys have a great Halloween. I'll be up sometime tomorrow during Halloween doing a live broadcast. Not sure when, or I might just postpone Dead on Dave Live until Sunday. I haven't decided yet, but more information will come about that. I'm feeling a little bit better, so I thought, what better way than to do this video? I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We will see you next time. Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, if you don't have talent, have talented friends. We'll see you next time. Peace. Mwah! I just came.